The We're Here For You project aims to provide 2S LGBTQ+ youth with community, affirmation, education, and resource sharing.
Hi, I'm Nathan Moore, my pronouns are they, them, and he, him, and I am a non-binary, queer, neurodiverse individual. I just want you to know that you are awesome, rad, and just a super valid human being.
What are some of your favorite 2S LGBTQ+ positive TV shows, movies, novels, or songs?
Some TV representation and just media representation I love would be Supergirl. There's also Arrow and Titans. In Supergirl, we've got Nia Nal as well as Alex Danvers. They're both played by 2S LGBTQIA individuals, respectively Nicole Maines and Charlie Lee. There's also the Arrowverse, where there's Sarah and Nyssa, as well as many others, because it's a huge series. And that, for me personally, was my first positive representation that I ever saw. Finally, we have Titans, and there's a character called Jericho, who's played by Chella Man. I really appreciate Chella Man. They are a deaf, genderqueer person of color, and they have this amazing artwork, and just their advocacy work is super rad. Check them out, they're on YouTube, Instagram, all of that, as well as in the TV show. So for some music, got some bops here, nice classics. We've got The Village by Rabble. My cousin sent me this when I first came out, and I was just in my dorm room crying, just sobbing, because it was one of the first times I felt so seen and heard in music. There's also songs like They Them Theirs by The Warriors, She Likes Girls by Metro Station, We Exist by Arcade Fire, and if you need a little pick-me-up, we've got Everyone Is Gay by A Great Big World, because sometimes you just need that. For books, I'm a big book fan, and I like it in different formats because sometimes you just can't read off of a page. We've got Simon and the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which has now been made into a movie, big and mainstream, which is awesome. It's called Love, Simon. By the same author, we have sort of like a prequel. It has the characters, but it's not necessarily directly attached in the storyline, and it's called Leah on the Offbeat. There's some other authors and book titles, so we've got Sorted by Jackson Bird, Beyond Magenta, Boy Erased, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, and finally we've got Symptoms of Being Human. These are just some ones to start off with. There's many more out there.
How have you found 2S LGBTQ+ community and self-care during COVID-19?
The way that I've found the community has adapted to COVID times has been amazing. Not just because now we can interact online better, but also because it's really opened up accessibility for the disability community, as well as folks that might not be located like where they live. They might not have a resource hub like the Gilbert Center or anything like that available to them. So being able to hop online, you could communicate to people across the world. I popped into a Calgary Pride workshop the other day, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to Calgary anytime soon. That was pretty rad. I was able to connect with autistic and queer folks all the way over there, so that was pretty cool.
When your fellow 2S LGBTQ+ community members are struggling, what have you found helpful when it comes to supporting them?
So some things during COVID that I've found helpful, just mental health wise, and checking up on pals. Just be there, check up on them, be purposeful about it. If you're like me, you're a little introverted, maybe not the best at being life of the party in there, and also might have some object permanence issues. Definitely there's some apps that can help with that. I've downloaded Fabric, and it helps me keep track of folks and like my interactions with them, and just give me a little push, be like, hey, you haven't talked to that person in a while. Maybe just like check in, see how they're doing. Just be purposeful, be there, don't judge, listen, give them the floor to just talk.
What are some professional resources, community resources, or safe spaces that you have found to be helpful as a 2S LGBTQ+ person? Some
spaces and resources I've personally found very helpful over the years would definitely be, number one, the public library. I used to spend like 7 hours a day there, and like different libraries have multiple library cards. Like, where else can you go that's safe, it's warm, It's got neutral and accessible bathrooms. You can just hang out, there's Wi-Fi, and you don't need to buy something like coffee, or, you know, if you don't have the funds to be doing that, it's a really great place. There's also a ton of books, so who doesn't love that? Books and programs. There's places, resource hubs like the Gilbert Center in Barrie, and they run lots of youth programs and like even a 55+ program, harm reduction. I know there's a youth group there that when I was first coming out to myself, I went there and I got my first pronoun pin, and it was super cool. I used to carry it in my wallet. And then when I sort of like aged out of that, they referred me on to Trans Q, where I actually found my last roommates, and I don't know where I'd be without that group and that community. We still keep in touch and have calls, and it's amazing. They're just awesome human beings. So another one I would definitely recommend would be PFLAG. It's not only great, there's a lot across Ontario and the country that you can refer family and loved ones to, just for workshops, etc. Definitely recommend PFLAG, run by some great people. I know in Simcoe we actually there's a choir there, and it's a queer choir. I had a musical upbringing, and I was definitely able to rewrite some of the negative connotations towards music and being in music. Being able to enjoy it again was really great. Plus, you're hanging out with some pretty cool people. If you're into sports, I would recommend roller derby. So the derby community is very open. They're actively trying to include more people. I know, especially folks in sports, if you're trans, you can sometimes find it really restricted, because if you're on HRT or not on HRT, and even if you are, it can be just really closed off and not safe to be there. So I've found some of the coolest people I'll ever meet, and yeah, who doesn't love skates and going fast? Like, it's pretty fun. Finally, we've got LGBT YouthLine. I know when I was first coming out to my family, I would text and call quite a bit, and it's important to be able to do that discreetly, but also have someone there that sort of understands what you're going through, and they're able to have resources that they can then recommend. There's like Gilbert Center or Youth Haven and stuff like that. That's pretty vital to, you know, growing up and being yourself.
What are some virtual professional resources, community resources, or safe spaces that you have found to be helpful as a 2S LGBTQ+ person?
So some online resources that I would recommend would be A4A, which is a neurodiverse and queer community, and it's just like-minded people connecting, having a good time, sharing resources. It's pretty cool. Then there's tons of Facebook groups. Just go check them out. So one of the ones I love is FTM Brotherhood, and it's full of trans mass folks just sharing their experiences and building each other up. And lots of questions. If you have questions, there's like elder gays out there that you can ask, and it's like super cool. There's also an app called Refuge Restroom, which is a community built app that allows you to look up your location and find any gender neutral and accessible bathrooms nearby. And then there's also like reviews on how safe they are, what's available, etc. So definitely go check that one out. And if possible, you can contribute to it, so that's pretty cool. And finally, if you don't have access to therapy through insurance or anything, there's definitely some options out there, but I've found that BetterHelp helped me, especially when I was transferring from having insurance to not having insurance, then having insurance again. I was able to get some support through that app.
What would a 2S LGBTQ+ person who is from your specific identity group want to hear?
Something I want non-binary, queer, and neurodiverse people to know is that there's nothing wrong with you. You are beautiful, you are handsome, and your brain is awesome. It took me a long time to hear that, and I just want you to know that. And you have amazing things to offer this world, and I am glad you are here. Just take everything 5 minutes at a time, do the next right thing. You are loved, you've got this.
Can you share with us an example of what you would have liked to have heard when sharing your gender identity and/or sexual orientation with someone for the first time?
So when I came out, something I wanted to hear was that I was loved, nothing was going to change in terms of the folks who loved me, that they weren't going to sentence me to hell, and that I was just being myself and it's okay. I just wanted someone to ask how they could show up for me and to use my name and pronouns. It's really the little things. It's not going to be perfect. I know it might seem like the movies, but just patience, and I hope that they would just show up. So, thank you all for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it, and if you take anything away from this, please just know you're valid, you are loved, and you are super rad. And yeah, that's it. Just a reminder that LGBT YouthLine is open to Ontario youth from Sunday to Friday, 4 till 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you have an amazing day. Cheers.